Hi there, I'm Sandeep Gurumurthy joining you live from our news centre in Mumbai, and straight to the big story tonight. Subramanian Swamy is at it again after a personal and malicious campaign against RBI Governor Raghuram Rajan, who had to retire before his term in September. He's now trained his guns against Chief Economic Advisor Arvind Subramanian. Swamy has raised questions on Subramanian's green card, his opposition to Indian pharma while in the US, and alleges Congress has hardened its GST stance at the behest of Arvind Subramanian.
But political observers all across the spectrum believe that Swamy's real target is Finance Minister Arun Jaitley himself. And now the big question is, can the government let loose cannons like Subramanian Swamy hijack the agenda, or will the Prime Minister, or in fact his office, rein him in? Because people are beginning to ask the crucial question: who is in charge, Narendra Modi or Subramanian Swamy? And that is indeed our top story right here on India Tonight.
The goalpost has shifted for Subramanian Swamy. After a vicious campaign against Raghuram Rajan, he has now trained his guns against Arvind Subramanian, Chief Economic Advisor to the Finance Minister. Swamy alleges that Arvind acted against India in the pharma case and also forced Congress to keep a tough stance on the GST.
उसने कहा कि इंडिया जो है वो अमेरिका के अनुकूल नहीं चल रही है और उसको सबक सिखाने के लिए WTO में हम उनको रगड़ना चाहिए, ये कहा है। अब उसी को हम सलाहकार बनाते हैं। फिर यहाँ आकर उसने फाइनेंस मिनिस्टर को नोट दिया कि जो कांग्रेस विरोध कर रही है GST का, उसमें जो तथ्य हैं वो बहुत अच्छे हैं, उसको मान लेना चाहिए।
But most people know it isn't the Chief Economic Advisor, but actually Finance Minister Arun Jaitley who's Swamy's real target. He has, after all, questioned economic growth in the last 2 years and alleges Trojan horses fill Finance Ministry. In fact, the Congress was the first to point out that it is Jaitley who's on Swamy's radar. And when questioned about the tirade of allegations against him and his advisor, Jaitley said that the government completely backs Subramanian and his own discipline constrains much response.
From the point of view of discipline of Indian politicians, to what extent should we attack those, the discipline and constraints of whose offices prevent them from responding? And this has happened more than once.
But experts believe that Swamy's loose talk is going to cost India dearly. By attacking respected names like Rajan and Subramanian and now questioning the authority of the Finance Minister as well, he's making a lot of people think who is in charge. And which is why most stakeholders believe that none other than Prime Minister or his office needs to rein in Swamy and set the record straight. Failing which, the economic fringe will continue to hijack the agenda, and that is most unwarranted. With Supriya Srinath, Ruchi Bhatia, ET Now, New Delhi.
It is indeed most unwanted, but the Congress has jumped to the opportunity of lashing out at the government and having sensed that chink in the armour. Of course, we did tell you how Digvijay Singh did tweet saying that the real target for Subramanian Swamy was Finance Minister Jaitley. Other opposition leaders say it is time to show Swamy his place or be ready for him to hijack the agenda. The bitter face-off between the opposition on one hand and the government votaries on the other.
It is a headache for the Prime Minister and for their party. Let them react on that. And probably on this comment I can only say what Mr. Chidambaram has said the other day, that this Modi government does not deserve people like Raghuram Rajan or Arvind Subramanian. Competent people are being abused and they are being belittled unnecessarily without any reason by Mr. Swamy.
There is a threat perception in building Dr. Subramanian Swamy as a prophet of doom. He may be presently actuated by his master's voice, but please remember that if he turns around and raises his fingers against the Bharatiya Janata Party dispensation, you will have a Frankenstein's monster unleashed by your own dispensation. Be warned, this is not a prophecy, this is foresight, and on that foresight, you need to caution yourself.
ये तो स्पष्ट है कि सुब्रमण्यम स्वामी नरेंद्र मोदी जी के अघोषित प्रवक्ता हैं। उन्हीं के इशारे पर जितनी भी बातें होती हैं, अरुण जेटली जी दे सकते हैं, टिप्पणी कर सकते हैं, लेकिन ये तो आरोप उनके ऊपर भी लगाते हैं, तो इसलिए उनके द्वारा टिप्पणी देना कोई बहुत महत्वपूर्ण नहीं है।
And taking on Subramanian Swamy on India Tonight this evening, we're joined by a very eminent panel of 4 experts on the show. Taking on Subramanian Swamy, we've got Swaminathan Iyer, ET Now's consulting editor, Gurcharan Das, political commentator, Milan Vaishnav, senior associate at Carnegie, joining us live from Washington as well, and of course Mohan Das Pai as well, like I told you just a short while ago, joining us. Thanks so much, gentlemen, for being with us on India Tonight this evening. I'm going to start off with you, Swamy. Are you outraged by this latest rant that we're seeing from Subramanian Swamy, this time targeting Arvind Subramanian and coming just days after that vicious attack on RBI Governor Raghuram Rajan?
Am I outraged? Yes, I'm outraged. Here we have a state of affairs where Mr. Narendra Modi views the diaspora as an asset and goes out to woo it. Here we are where you say Sundar Pichai or Mr. Satya Nadella are important Indian assets abroad. And just at a time when you think, finally the RSS has changed, it realizes that, narrow, inward-looking Trumpishness is not the way to go. Here we have Subramanian Swamy, this loose cannon, starting on this ultra-nationalist kind of barrage of attacks on various people. Mr. Subramanian Swamy himself has been in Harvard for many years. Does he therefore say he's completely unfit to talk? Or that he's the pot calling the kettle black? India has a large number of people who have been abroad and who have green cards. I have a green card. I would be outraged at the suggestion that because I have a green card, I do not have any loyalty, or I'm unfit to write for the Indian media, or I should not be on Indian TV, or I should not be in any responsible position. This is an outrageous inward-lookingness which must be condemned. Modi himself needs to go out and condemn it. I think the party needs to take action against Subramanian Swamy and say that he should be removed from responsible positions within the army, within the party, just to show that this is not what the BJP stands for.
Milan Vaishnav, come in on that. Swamy is enraged and no power on earth can stop us from getting Swamy on camera, whether he has a green card or not. But the fact really is that Subramanian Swamy had first positioned his guns against Raghuram Rajan. He, of course, fell to threat, as they say, and now Arvind Subramanian. What is the international community making of this? Are people beginning to question who's in charge in India?
No, I don't think that's so much a question, although I think there's a lot of disbelief that the government did not come out stronger to condemn the statements and to defend the RBI governor, irrespective of whether or not they had policy disputes or thought that he spoke on issues outside of his remit. He is a public servant. He's someone who has a lot of opportunities, and he decided to come back to serve his country. The same is true of Arvind Subramanian. I was happy to see the finance minister come out and strongly defend the chief economic advisor, who I think has, along with the RBI governor, ably served the country. So I think, the government is in a precarious position, but there is hope from the outside that they are going to take a stronger line, that they are not going to repeat the same mistakes with Arvind Subramanian that they did with Raghuram Rajan. But I do think that Swamy is absolutely right. This is an issue that they have to take on. And you saw the BJP fumbling a little bit. Outside of Jaitley's statement, you saw spokespeople not quite sure how to deal with questions they were getting from the media in response to Swamy's allegations. And I think that it's time that they get on the same page.
And actually, I'm going to take that discussion forward and talk to you about also who is the real target here. But let's get in Mohan Das Pai, another very outspoken member of Indian industry. And Mr. Pai, the goalpost seems to have shifted from Raghuram Rajan to Arvind Subramanian. What are you making of the latest round of attacks by Subramanian Swamy?
Well, we are getting more and more surprised and sad at the turn of events. You know, we were very shocked at what happened at the attack to Dr. Rajan. Government has a prerogative to appoint people to institution. Nobody disputes that. And if they don't want somebody, they can always talk to them and tell them in a very polite manner, and it can be done decently, with grace. But to have somebody who's identified with the ruling party to talk like this and attack Dr. Rajan was shocking. Now, seeing the attack on CEA Subramanian is become even more shocking and is raising too many questions in the minds of investors and people and citizens of this country. So I think it is becoming a bit too much, and I think government has to clear the air, because the Prime Minister has worked very hard in the last 2 years. He has announced so many policies. He has gone around the world. He has built brand equity for us, and the world is interested. Our fortunes have changed, and this year we could have a good monsoon, and the economy could grow at 8%. Now to have this thrown at everybody is very shocking and could push us back.
Gurcharan Das, at one level, do you feel that the government probably underestimates the damage that all this is causing? This relentless personal campaign that's being targeting some of the most outstanding Indian public servants, so to say. Do you think that the government and the Prime Minister himself is underestimating the damage that this is causing?
Yeah, I mean, it's surprising, but it's very, it's puzzling, because that whole intolerance debate that took place in our country, the banning debate that took place, the Prime Minister was very late to enter and reassure people. In the case of Dadri, it took 12 days. That's too long. And therefore, I think that the Prime Minister has to learn to manage not only the extremists but the media, so that these things don't get out of control.
There was some damage control done by the governments today, and it was good to see the finance minister speak up. I wish he spoke so unequivocally when there was that campaign launched on RBI Governor Raghuram Rajan as well. But he did speak today and minced no words in saying that he backs the Chief Economic Advisor Arvind Subramanian. But Swami, is that enough? He didn't directly take on Subramanian Swamy. Do you think we should have seen a stronger condemnation by the finance minister and maybe even the Prime Minister's office or the party president?
No, just to say that Subramanian Swamy is entitled to his opinion and is not good enough. You have to say Subramanian Swamy is wrong. That Subramanian Swamy is a disgrace. That's what you need to say.
Milan, the theory here in New Delhi at least is that the real target of Subramanian Swamy is none other than Arun Jaitley himself. I mean, look at the kind of stuff that he has said. Trojan horses in finance ministry. What is the economic record of this government in the last 2 years? Economy hasn't grown to satisfaction in 2 years. So he is questioning the performance of the finance ministry, which is of course headed by Arun Jaitley. Will you agree with our assessment that the real target is actually Jaitley and Subramanian seems to be a pawn in there?
I think that certainly seems to be the case, knowing what we know about the relationship among all the various players. I would just go back to your first question, which is, remember the original target of Swamy's and why the government was keen on having him be a member of the Rajya Sabha was that the Gandhi family was the target. He was trained on the issues of Robert Vadra, on the National Herald case, on the Gandhi family, and so they thought of him as quite a useful sort of weapon on those issues. Now, what they seem to have underestimated is he's his own man. He's an independent thinker. He's famous for not taking marching orders from anybody. And although that may have been his initial target, it's like a boomerang has turned on the government itself. Rajan was one case where the government may or may not have had their own policy disagreements with him and may not have wanted to extend his term for their own reasons. Be that as may, Arvind Subramanian and Arun Jaitley obviously are a very different kettle of fish. And so I think now the government has found itself in a quandary that's, frankly, of their own making.
Oh, absolutely. Of their own making, and I'm going to take that question with my experts right here, if it was indeed a political blunder and a miscalculation of sorts. But Mohandas Pai, because the authority of the finance minister has been questioned and he kind of enjoys a political clout in New Delhi and questions have been raised on his own ministry's performance now, do you believe there should be a clamp down on Subramanian Swamy by the highest quarters of the government? I mean, not just finance minister making the statement, but either the prime minister or his office.
Many investors called me up and asked me, they're very concerned about Rajan, then they heard about this, they asked me who's running the country. Why is a person outside the government able to abuse senior people who are running great institutions, now turn his attention to the government and abuse senior officials, threaten that he will drive out 27 secretaries and all that. What is happening? And they asked, who is running the country? I mean, I was very shocked at what they said. And it's very worrisome that outsiders think like this. And I think that this must be stopped because, if Dr. Swami has something on some people, he can talk within the party and do it very quietly and don't have to talk to the public and make it a very big issue and just ruin the economic environment. I think it's very worrisome for all of us because for 2 years we have been working very hard to bring up growth in this country, and it's time that we see growth.
Who's in charge, asks Mohandas Pai. But Swami, I want to bring up the point that Milan was making, and it's an important point because let's not forget, why was Subramanian Swamy given this political stature? He was brought to the Rajya Sabha to target the opposition, specifically target the Gandhis. Has he ended up creating nuisance value for the government that's in power? And in a way, has the move backfired?
I would agree. I would think it's been extremely unfortunate that they have in fact given him a position of prominence, and they should be extremely sorry for themselves for having allowed themselves to put such a person in the Rajya Sabha.
Gurcharan Das, would you agree? Would you say it's a political miscalculation and it's backfired to get Subramanian Swamy in the Rajya Sabha to make him this prominent party MP? Because today is no longer an individual saying no matter what he says, he is an MP of the BJP, which is the party in power.
Yeah. I mean, that's precisely why we need immediate government intervention and to tell people that these are not the views of the government at all. It's an art. And the art that Modi is doing a lot of good things and the right things, but he is not managing these extremists. Both the extremists of the Saffron Brigade as well as extremists like Subramanian Swamy.
All right, if they were social fringe, this perhaps is the economic fringe, and I think we'll have to take that discussion forward another show maybe. But Mohandas Pai, is this a rude reminder of the infighting and the camps that existed within the UPA?
Yes, it's a beginning to see so. That there's too much of infighting in the government, not in the government, in the party, too much of infighting in the party, people settling scores at each other. And I think it's reminding us of UPA too. And I think that's not what we want. I think the people of this country voted for a good government, voted for growth and development. Our Prime Minister has delivered. Let's say the Prime Minister has delivered. Other good news, he has delivered. And this is the year when we want to see good things happening because with the good monsoon, 50% of India's population will see better days. For the last 2 years, 50% of population has suffered by drought and lack of water and all that. And the good monsoon, things are going to improve. And when things improve, we want a positive climate, we want more investment, we want more jobs. Getting jobs to young people is the biggest challenge for India. And everything should be focused on that. Our Prime Minister has been focusing on that. And we don't want any distractions in this country.
Milan Vaishnav, no one can read the mind of Subramanian Swamy, but what do you think he's going to do next? Do you think now, in light of what the finance minister said, can anyone shut him up? Or do you think he's going to go on this tirade? He claims that he's got a list of 27 bureaucrats who he believes owe their allegiance to the Congress party and he's going to disclose their names. Or do you think, can anyone really shut him up? What's your sense?
I think it's very difficult. I think that he has a number of issues and people he wants to discuss, and I think it's going to be hard for anybody in the government to tell him that those topics or people are off limits. And look, the fact of the matter is some of the time he will be discussing issues and people the government is happy to target. And that's, of course, why they brought him in. There is that overlap where his enemies and the government enemies are common. Then there are going to be some times, and we're now in one of them, where he set his sights on someone who the government is backing, who has ably served the country, who was an appointee of this present government, not the previous government. And I think has done his role, which is to give unvarnished economic advice to the Modi administration and to the finance ministry. And so I think this is going to be a lasting issue. This is not something that's going to end today or tomorrow or the next day. And the government is going to try to benefit from it when it can. And other times it's going to have to find a way of mitigating the damage. And that's, again, the position that they put themselves in. No one else put them into it.
Absolutely, a self-goal of sorts. But I'm wondering if those 29 bureaucrats and those names, when will they be revealed? Are we looking and staring at yet another policy paralysis in the making? But on that note, thank you very much, Milan Vaishnav, Swaminathan Iyer, Gurcharan Das, and of course Mohan Das Pai for joining us as we discuss and debate a very important topic, a very misguided, or shall we say a very calculatedly guided missile, Subramanian Swamy, and his impact on not just India but Indian economy as well.
Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/ETNow, and don't forget to click the like button. You can also follow us on Twitter at ETNowLive. To stay updated with all our programming, hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel by logging on to youtube.com/user/ETNow.